Here's the plan, okay?
Their plan ultimately is they're going to create 2 backpacks of bombs, 30 kilograms of plastic explosive with 500 ball bearings in each bag, and they place them outside of 2 houses of worship in Riverdale, one a Jewish center and one a temple, and then they have 2 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles that they're going to use to blow up planes at a Stewart Air Force Base. Hussein was going to provide all the materials and the money and everything else to make the work happen. And then at the end, he was going to pay them all $250,000, cars, trips, whatever they wanted.
All right, you just heard what the plot was behind basically a sting here that arrested 4 men from Newburgh back in May of 2009 here, arrested in that alleged terror plot. It's also part of a film that will be seen on Monday evening on HBO, The Newburgh Sting. Now, the Muslim men in question, the 4, had no criminal past or terror ties. However, they were accused of plotting to shoot down military planes flying out of Air National Guard base in Newburgh, Stewart Air Force Base, for those who know it. And they were also accused of planning to blow up 2 synagogues in the Bronx. The men say it was a case of entrapment. They say they were coaxed into participating in that plot devised by the FBI. Well, let's bring in one of the people behind this film, David Heilbronner, and he is part of the film The Newburgh Sting, which, as I mentioned, will air this coming Monday at 9 p.m. Hey, I appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Okay, David, with that as a backdrop, give some more context. Set this thing up for us.
Sure. I mean, let me set the scene right off the bat, which is this took place in the town of Newburgh, New York, and I don't know how many of your viewers know Newburgh, but it's an impoverished town. Probably 30% unemployment. Most of the houses are boarded up. It's someone once referred to it as Camden, New Jersey on the Hudson. And into this destitute community comes a man who's on the FBI payroll, who's on the lam. He himself is on the lam from committing fraud at a DMV office in Albany. And the FBI says to him, if you can bring us terrorists, we'll pay you. And if you can get convictions, we'll give you a bonus. So this man is Shahed Hussein, and he comes to Newburgh looking for terrorists. And he spends months hanging out at the local mosque, not finding anybody, until one day he crosses the path of the local blowhard, James Cromedy. Cromedy is a low-level marijuana dealer whose only means of employment is he's a night clerk at Walmart, makes about $14,000 a year. And Cromedy will say anything. Cromedy bragged to Shahed Hussein about blowing up police stations. He bragged to him about committing murders, none of which he did. If the FBI had bothered to check, they would see that the guy is just, he's like Jackie Gleason from The Honeymooners, if that dates me a little bit. But he's a big talker. But Shahed Hussein goes, hey, I've got someone who might actually go along with this. So Hussein pursues Cromedy for months and says, we need more people, we need more bodies, come on, let's get a conspiracy going. Cromedy can't find anybody. And Hussein eventually, when Cromedy just craps out on him, nothing seems to be happening, Hussein says, listen, I can get you $250,000, we can take trips all over the country when this is done, I can get you cars, I can buy you a barbershop. James Cromedy all of a sudden gets really interested and brings in 3 guys from Newburgh.
First of all, $250,000. Usually informants are authorized up to $5,000. So how all of a sudden, he did a multiple of 50 times this, I guess, is part of the question. He said that was code. I never figured that one out throughout the process. But it also turns out that Hussein didn't record everything. So at the end of the day, those blanks in this really have to be filled in by the feds to, in effect, take Hussein's word for it. Let's take a look at another clip.
Hussein knew where the cameras were. Hussein turned on and off the cameras whenever he wanted. There was a camera in his cars. There was a camera in the safe house. When they went out into the street, they knew where the cameras would be. When they went to the warehouses, they knew where the cameras would be. So if he wanted something on television, he recorded it. If he didn't want something on television, he didn't record it.
The jury has to take Shahed Hussein's word for the meeting that Shahed Hussein had with the 4 defendants the night before they all are supposed to carry out this bombing. That meeting, for some reason, was unrecorded. Were they worried that someone was going to express their doubt about this mission? Was Shahed Hussein going to offer them even more money?
So, David, in the end of the day, let's remind everybody, these guys got 25 years. And
right.
a lot of it, they got to take the word of Hussein over the Newburgh 4, if you will. It's amazing the more you read and the more you learn about it, especially through this film, that crucial piece of information about the night before, nobody knows what actually happened.
Right, well this is a movie that's made by the government. You know, the best thing that happened to us in making the film was that we were able to get all the FBI's undercover tapes, so that you don't have to take somebody's word for what happened on camera. Off camera, there's a lot of argument about it, but even the stuff that's caught on camera is so badly undercuts the government's claim that I think, you know, anyone who sees this film is going to be very disturbed by what went down. So this is what's really disturbing is it's entrapment, and that's bad enough. But what this case really is fraud. That the FBI is creating a PR film using taxpayer dollars to show the world how great they are at busting terrorists. But if you actually look at the film, they're not busting terrorists at all. They're corralling 4 numbskulls with the promise of $250,000 into doing whatever they wanted.
So I guess the question is begged, Dave, that how couldn't even a first-year law student have gotten these guys off, let alone they all got 25-year terms?
You know, what happened is, this is 2009. It's just a few miles north of where 9/11 went down. They tried the case in Manhattan. And you know, the government did get these guys to go along with the plot. They did plant what they believed to be bombs in front of a synagogue. And they did, you know, play around with a fake Stinger missile. And so if you're a jury in the post-9/11 era of hysteria, you're going to look at this and go, you know, yeah, they sure look like they're entrapped, but that's a Stinger missile, and this is a synagogue, and they're Muslims, maybe, and I just can't go home and sleep at night if something bad happens. And I think that's what went down here.
Well, again, you're going to be able to catch it on HBO this coming Monday night here. David, I really appreciate the few minutes. Again, the Newburgh Sting. I will definitely be watching. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Really appreciate it.
And coming up next, everyone, a look at a push to build a group home for young men with autism. Why the plan is causing so much controversy in a residential neighborhood and what the mayor had to say about it that's got a lot of people talking. My conversation with New Rochelle Mayor Noam Branson, who says he supports the effort to let the young men move in, but it's his letter that he penned that has got so many people still talking. Stay with us.